Welcome back to Mystic Mage Mead. This is the volume 2 of our Argonian Bloodwine. I think it's been, let's see, we did this on 12/13 and it is, I don't know, the 23rd, so it's only been fermenting for 10 days. It looks done. I haven't seen a bubble in the airlock for like a good day. So let's check. Now I haven't checked this, so it may be still fermenting. Just because you don't see bubbles doesn't mean it's not. We're going to take our turkey baster. You can also use a wine thief, but I use a turkey baster just because it's cheaper. I already had a graduated cylinder. Now, if I'm right, this should be 1.000. Let's find out. I mean, it's literally 1.000. It is on the dot. It is done. 10 days. This is the second time I've done a mead or wine where I've put spices in there, and I think it goes faster with wines, but it usually ferments really quickly. So let's go ahead and take this bad boy out. Just set that down. We're going to go ahead and transfer, or rack as it's called. Now there are a few things in there. If you remember from the first video, volume 1, there's some chunks of star anise. There's some pepper. I don't know if you can see them. Like, there's a piece right there. I am going to do my best to leave the bottom of the carboy out and those pieces out of here. Now I'm just holding it about an inch above the bottom of the carboy here, and that way it doesn't use any of the suction to get any of the lees on the bottom. Okay. In this carboy, I've left just about all the lees behind. There's still going to be some yeast in here, dead and alive. There will be more to settle to the bottom. Let's go ahead and take a little taste. Now, this is obviously going to be very dry. I've yet to backsweeten, so we're going to do those steps next, but I just want to see how it came out. Wow, that's some good stuff. It's got a kick to it. The smell, I'm trying to remember, I put 1 star anise in there, so I'm trying to see if that comes through, and it really doesn't. Not in any great capacity, which is fine. I don't want a huge licorice flavor. What does come through is the peppers. So it's not a huge kick, but it's there. And it's more of an aftertaste. So you get the drink and the flavor of everything, and then you kind of get a little kick to it, which is exactly what I was going for something to be considered Argonian blood. I wanted something with a kick, which is why I put the peppers in. I didn't want it to be too overwhelming, like the firebrand wine I made, which I didn't make a video for, but it came out crazy hot, which is what I wanted, but some people don't like it. So I think this came out perfectly. Now, you may have seen I accidentally put a little oxygen in there. I'm trying my very best not to introduce any oxygen, as that could lead to it turning into vinegar. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna backsweeten. Okay, so we're gonna do a few things first. I'm gonna backsweeten with black cherry juice. No one responded in the comments. I didn't think they would. I wouldn't, but we're gonna go ahead and add black cherry juice. This is from concentrate. There's no sugar added, so it'll actually have an intense cherry flavor. I'm not gonna add a lot. There's 32 ounces in here. Basically, this is just below a gallon line. I'm gonna add it so it's right about here, maybe a little lower, because I still need to add the Kaisolol, and tomorrow, about 24 hours, I'll add the chitzosan. Both of those are clearing agents. We're also going to add potassium sorbate and potassium metabisulufate. Those will stop any yeast production and kill if they're, they will kill any yeast that's left over. And of course, we're gonna stir it. I could use a drill, but I'm not gonna do that to you guys. It's kind of loud. Then we're gonna remeasure gravity after I add this juice and the sorbate. I'm going to try to introduce as little oxygen as possible into this. Okay, so I used about that much, not very much at all. Don't just be tempted to dump that in there. It just shows you on there that half a teaspoon will be good for a gallon. So that's what I'm gonna do. And for the potassium metabisulfate, you need a considerable amount less. It says 1/4 teaspoon is good for 6 gallons. I'm gonna go ahead and put 1/8 of a teaspoon, which is more than we need, but not gonna do anything crazy. We're gonna go ahead and mix it. Now I'm trying not to splash or introduce any oxygen. What this is gonna do is two things. It's going to mix the potassium I just added to the mixture and the cherry juice, and it's also a degassing wand, so it'll make sure that there's no carbon dioxide left over, or not very much anyway. I'm not going to stir it with like a drill and go for, you know, a few minutes. I'm just kind of doing this by rolling my fingers, as you can see. And you'll want to switch up. What that does is it helps release those bubbles. As you can see here, when I switched the direction, it actually helped release more. So if you read directions of any wine kit, it'll usually tell you to use a drill and go in a different direction every 30 seconds. And it works really well. So I'm just going to mix this a little bit more. And then we're going to take another gravity reading. I want to know what the sweetness of this is going to be. Basically, fermentation will not restart. If it does, for whatever reason, it's not going to get very far. Because those chemicals will kick in. Now, I'm also going to add the Kaisolol packet. This packet is enough for 6 gallons, but I've had bad experiences where I've added, you know, half of the packet and it hasn't done anything, and I really don't want to repeat that. These clearing agents aren't really expensive, so I don't want to, you know, waste more than I need to by not using enough initially. And that's what I've done in the past. It's not a good feeling. Now I know I'm using my hands, but they've been sanitized. Before I add the Kaisolol, let's go ahead and measure the gravity. This Argonian blood has me all shaky. I already spilled a little bit. Okay, so I didn't want a whole lot of sweetness. I know you can't really see this all that well. But basically it is about 1.08 in gravity, which is fine. I didn't want it, like I said, I didn't want it to be too sweet. I wanted the flavors to shine through. I didn't want the sweetness to shine through. So let's give it another taste. I like mine sweet, but I'm going to leave this like this because I really don't think it needs it. It tastes really good. Of course, that kick is very present, so if you're not a fan of any spices, this probably isn't for you. Or you could do it without the spice. So we're going to go ahead and add the Kaisolol. I'm going to be very careful not to try and introduce oxygen. And we're just going to go ahead and stir this. And If you hear any noises in the background, it just so happens that I'm not in my kitchen. I am in a tavern in Skyrim. The bartender let me go ahead and use their space. Or you could believe that. It's probably not the truth. And if you hear any barking, that's Barbas. I guess Clavicus Vile didn't want him, so I held on to him. Okay, so after I stirred, I went ahead and put this cap on. It's been sitting for a couple hours now, so there's no air in there. The yeast is done fermenting. I added potassium metabisulufate and potassium sorbate. So there's not going to be any CO2 released, which is why I didn't put an airlock on there. In the meantime, I've been drinking my own Firebrand wine. So probably drank half that bottle so far. And it came to me that I'm glad I added spices, and by that I mean the chili peppers, to this, because it's a little kick, not quite as much as this, but in the game you are prompted by an Argonian, I believe, to get Firebrand wine for him. So I would imagine that it's something they drink on the regular or prefer to drink. After drinking this, I would imagine that their blood, which is what this is supposed to be, is a little spicy. So it makes sense. I made this, by the way, to kind of set your mouth a little on fire. It's not that bad, but it's kind of cool. If someone wants to see a video of how this is made, I can try and recreate the recipe. It's something I don't mind doing. If someone shows an interest, just leave a comment down below. Anyway, have a great night, and we will see how this turns out in Volume 3.